In this video, we're going to talk about Truthy and Falsy values as it relates to Python. I did want to bring up that the truth is, I do like Ferraris, but that's not the point of this video. The point of this video is let's start talking about conditional statements first. What are they? And then we can move on the conversation to Truthy and Falsy. So to get started, let's come up with an age variable. And one thing that we can do in programming is say, hey, look, if the age is 18, or if it's greater than 18, or if it's less than 18, or equals to, and that type of thing, do something. Otherwise, do something else. And maybe even do a default if none of those two cases are the what's happening. So what do I mean? Let me show you. We do have an if keyword in Python, and we can say if age equals 18, go ahead and print the age. We can do that. And of course, this is 18. Age is 18. So it is going to execute this body of the if block because it is going to be 18. So it's going to execute and say print age, which is 18. So let's run this and see what happens. This is exactly what happens. We get 18. It's exactly what we expect. Just to show you that if we said 19 here, this would not execute. We don't get anything. So that's fine. That's great. But what about if we had something else? Something like else. Go ahead and print age is not 18. Something like that. If we run this again, we can see that it's 18 because it's executed in this body of the if block. But if we say this is 22 and we run this, we'll see that the age is not 18. What about if we wanted to be more granular here? If we wanted to say, hey, if age equals 18, else if age equals 19, right? We could do something like this. There's an elif keyword where we can say age equals 19. Let's just say, we can say age is 19. And that would work. And at the same time, just to show you all together, we can say and catch all for else print age is not 18 or 19, something like that. So since we know it's 22, it should print this one because it's gonna check this and say, hey, is age equals to 18? It's not, so it's not going to run the body of that if block. If age equals 19, well, it's not, it's 22. It's not going to run the body of that if, else if. Else, of course, it's going to do this one in this case because it's 22. Age is 22. And so it's going to print age is not 18 or 19. And that's exactly what we get here. So these are conditional statements. These statements give power to our code, our programs, because we can go one way or the other. We can go in different branches, and depending on some of the values, depending on some of the conditions that we want to check, we can make our programs more interesting. This is really, really powerful. And the beauty of programming in variables and conditions, right? We can make things dynamic, if you will. Now, what we want to get into now is, let's talk about what does it mean to be truthy? What does it mean to be falsy? I'm going to remove all of these here and just say, hey, look, if age equals 18, we could say, sure, go ahead and print age. It's not going to do this. We know this. It's not going to do this because it's 22. But imagine that it was 18, and it is going to execute. It's going to say 18. One thing that we could do is we can check for age to see if it's truthy. Truthy meaning, is it greater than 0? Is it anything not 0 or empty or null or none, right? In that case, go ahead and print it. So something like this would be exactly the same. And that means that we can simplify our code and make it more readable and make it more concise by doing something like this, right? So if we had a 0 here, what would happen is we would have nothing because it would not be truthy. It would be falsy. So this would be truthy, right? When it's greater than, when it's anything other than 0 or empty string, because empty string here would still give you empty. But if you said something like ed, then that would be, again, truthy. So this allows us to check for variables and things, right, to see if they do contain certain values that are considered truthy, and certain values that are considered falsy, like none, empty string, 0, and false even, right? So you can say something like this. This could be true. This is gonna print, and this could be false, and this is gonna print. This is not going to print, rather. So that's something to keep in mind when we talk about truthy and falsy. Other programming languages also have this, right? Like in JavaScript, we have this concept of truthy and falsy. It's really, really interesting, and you have to be mindful of what's happening underneath the hood when Python, or the interpreter that you're working with, the language that you're working with, is converting one type to the other, just to double check or check whether it's truthy or falsy.